Welcome back to another episode of Gumball Love. I'm your host, Melissa Ledger. I hope you are having an amazing day. Thank you so much. I just want to say really quickly for all of you that listen to this podcast on a regular basis, that reach out to me, that send me DMs. I rely on your feedback to help me create better content. And anytime you reach out to me and say, hey, can you do a podcast about this or what about that? It just helps me to hear what's on your mind. So please feel free to reach out to me. And if you are considering coaching, you're thinking about, this Level Up for Love program that you're running, it's a 3-month program. Maybe you are ready to take that step and say, I think I'm ready to make that investment. All these things that you talk about on the podcast are great, but keep in mind, this podcast only scratches the surface. And there's nothing like going into your specific story, talking about where you are, whether it's dating, getting over a breakup. You can't get past the one guy that, sometimes when I'm coaching and I get to meet you, it's like a lot of my girls, like I've told you guys before, that there's tears immediately because there's healing, there's hurt, there's pain. I can't get over this guy. I can't move past this guy. I can't imagine anybody else but him. And how can I even have hope? Online dating feels like it's overwhelming. Every guy is disgusting. All the good ones are taken. I mean, I've heard them all, right? And I used to feel the same way. And a lot of my clients are saying, Melissa, we really appreciate your coaching because you've been there. You were single in all of your 30s I was single until 42. So Ian and I did not reconnect till I was 42. So that gives me a huge window. I have a huge window into where you are. I know what online dating hell feels like. I know what taking breaks from dating feels like. I've been able to see, what happens when you take a break? What happens when, how do you get over a guy? How do you gain the perspective that you need to get over him, to see him differently? And I walk you through that. And I know exactly what it feels like. So it's not judgmental. I don't expect you to make decisions in a certain amount of time, but it's at your own pace. And I give you the tools and the guidance. And I really feel like it has to happen when you are ready, when you feel that confidence build in you. And that's what I'm here to do, is build that confidence. So this podcast today is really about helping and reminding you of when you're doing online dating. So if you're online dating right now, I want you to come back to this podcast and remember, this is how it should go. Okay. So the first thing I want to talk about is what is on your profile. Okay. I'm going to give you some generic things like about me. I have a cat or I have a dog, love cat people, love dog people, whichever you are. I love to travel and I do this kind of work. And I love my friends and I love watching this show and this show and this show. And my favorite foods are XYZ and, looking for somebody that's family oriented. It's a generic thing. It's like, okay, maybe I learned what kind of animal you like, that you like to travel, what you do for a living. But what does that really tell me? So I did this exercise with a client of mine, and it was so fun to watch her come to life and really explain. So I'll just do this about me. Okay, so my name's Melissa, and I have 2 dogs. I have a Morkie and a Shih Tzu. My Morkie, Charlie, she's the emotional one that's pretty needy and is always by my side. But Lucy has total attitude and is aloof like a cat and likes to steal my shoes and drag them around. I work as a relationship coach because I'm passionate about helping other women find their worth and find true love. I'm the friend that is always there to listen, and I've been told I'm funny, but I have a hard time seeing that sometimes. I love watching Breaking Bad, and I've watched the whole series 5 times through because I am obsessed with the character development of Walter White and love Jesse Pinkman. I'm obsessed with conspiracy theories and anything dog related. I can also be caught watching crocodile videos and shark videos because I'm obsessed with them. I love listening to classical music, but also anything with the dance beat. I love ballroom dancing and anything with a cha-cha or a samba beat. I love eating thin crust pizza. The thinner the crust, the better. Okay, Is that enough? Do you see how it's not just about like, and I would even say, I've never been to Europe and I love watching anything about Paris or London. And I picture myself walking down those streets and having French pastries or sitting in a coffee shop watching the world go by with the Eiffel Tower or Big Ben in the background. Those things give you a window into who I am, what I love, what I'm passionate about. Even if you say you watch a show, why do you watch it? What is the point of talking about a show? You can say, oh yeah, we like that show too, but tell me why. Like I just finished watching Schitt's Creek, which I never thought I would watch. I thought it was going to be some stupid show. And then I just ended up watching like all 6 seasons. I was just binging it while I was doing other things, and it became like my podcast replacement. I was kind of like over on, you just had listened to so many podcasts. I was listening to Schitt's Creek. So if you've watched the show, you either get it or you don't. But like, if you've watched it, let's say you and I, let's like say you're the guy that's interested in me. And I'm like, I love when David's like, I don't know what that means. But whatever. Like I just love when he like closes his eyes and like leans forward and is like, I don't know what that means. And just that whole character is just hilarious. The dynamic between the brother and the sister, just like they had the funniest dialogue out of anyone in the show. And so immediately I would go into just a little bit of detail about one show. And in that detail, you get to see who I am. What do I think is funny? Why do I think it's funny? Do you think that's funny? Maybe you don't. But if it's somebody that I'm building a connection with, then they get to see, she sounds cool. Like just even that one thing. So I want you to look at your profile and be like, am I just somebody who likes to be at home and likes to go out too? Great. What do you want to do when you're at home? When I'm at home, I love to binge watch Schitt's Creek and have a glass of wine, and I'm snuggled up with my Morkie and my Shih Tzu, and I can have a glass of tea, or I'll sit in the bubble bath. Like, what are you doing when you're watching that show? Create a picture that people can get a feel or a vibe of who you are so that your profile is interesting. So that's the first thing I want. If you're online dating, give more detail that tells who you are. Talk about, if you're a dog person, like I'm a dog person. If you tell me your dog's name, like you could message me, any of you can DM me a picture of your dog, tell me your dog's name and something weird your dog does. I love hearing that kind of stuff because I'm a total dog person. I'm also a cat person too, but the cat hair, and Ian's not, the biggest fan of cats. I think he would deal with it if I really got one, but like I love animals. And so I could totally have a cat. I love the attitude of a cat and just how aloof they are. And so if you are a dog person or a cat person, you can make a connection with those kinds of things. So look at every single thing. So I just made a list of what is typically on a dating profile. So if you say, if I say to you, I love listening to music from the Erin Brockovich soundtrack because it makes me channel the hard work that she had to do and the focus that was required to win that lawsuit and go deep in that work. And for some reason, that music brings me back to that movie and it stimulates me to just work harder in the moment so I can geek out to movie soundtracks that kind of give me that vibe of that movie and will give me inspiration in the moment. So do you see how I used to just put, I love movie soundtracks, but why do I love movie soundtracks? What is it about it? Why do you like ice cream over cake? Why do you like this dessert over that? What is it about? Like Ian and I both have this in common. We like desserts, but we like something with a crunch to it. Something that's got something, like we both love things that are toasted. And like no mushy vegetables. Give me a vegetable with a crunch versus a mush, and it's a whole different ball game. Things like that give you interest and are going to be things that are differentiators between you and just some other generic profile. Okay? So when you put some work into your profile and you say, I do this because I'm passionate about it because of this. I'm the kind of friend that always has the inappropriate comment to say. Let's say that. I'm the friend that, I'm the person people come to when they want somebody to tell them the truth. I'm the person that's going to tell you what you want to hear, but if you push me, then I'll tell you. Whatever it is. Who are you? Give people some insight. But do you notice how none of this is super personal? It's like, I love this kind of show. These are my dogs. This is what I like to eat. This is where I want to travel. So it gives you some things to connect with. It also gives you some things for guys to message you about. Okay? So the next thing I want you to think about is, do I want a guy to approach me, or do I want to be the girl that initiates? If you don't want to be the initiator, then don't be. And there are ways to softly initiate. Like, here's how I would do it. If they can see I've viewed their profile, sometimes that's all I would do is just view their profile. You've seen I viewed your profile. So if you reach out to me, but sometimes Ian told me he never looked at who viewed his profile. So I can't tell you, I'm pretty sure, I wish I could know this 100%. I'm pretty sure I winked at him. So the Match.com wink, but he sent me an email after I expressed some interest. So it's okay, express a little interest. I can't remember if I viewed it or I winked. I wish I knew, but that is one detail I never tracked. So, but what I do remember is there was some conversation in the Match.com chat. Okay. So you can chat a little bit through the app, but maybe for the initial conversation and a little bit after, but if there's connection and conversation that starts, and even in that conversation, that person should not be abandoning the conversation for hours on end or days on end. Like, the conversation needs to be respected from the very beginning. So, hey, Amit, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too. So there's a little bit of banter. I'm not saying that they have to be on the ball every other minute, but it's not where it's like, okay, did this guy lose interest? Because someone who is interested in you, that has self-respect and really that really wants to advance it to the next level, they're not going to just forget about the conversation. They're going to stay engaged. So you want to see that they've stayed engaged, that they are consistent, and they keep the conversation going. The conversation can go on the app for a short period of time. I hate to give you a length, but if I had to say it, I would say no more, a week max, but I would say 2 days where you're having some conversation. It depends on how the conversation's going and how in depth it is. But and this is where I'm going to assume you want a guy who doesn't want to just text you. He wants to call you. So in my girls, when we're coaching, we do not go out with guys we have only sent text messages to. We go out with guys we've had a phone conversation. We meet, we've texted a little bit. We see that we have some banter and some chemistry via text. Now, does he ask for the phone number? So what I would do is, when I was messaging guys online, if they didn't ask for my phone number within, the first day or two, I would immediately start giving less information. I would not engage as much in the conversation, because if they kept engaging me, but then it kind of kept fizzling out, I felt like, okay, this guy he's distracted. He's dating too many other people. Maybe he's married. Who knows what's going on with these guys? But I can tell you, the more secure I got, the less I started to think it was about me, and more it's like, okay, there's a lot of people online that shouldn't be. They're in relationships. They are distracted. They really should be working out their problems with their existing relationship, but they put themselves on an app because they got in an argument with their significant other, and now they're like having these half-assed conversations with you. So take all of those as red flags of, okay, not focused, not engaged, not serious, and not respecting his own time and yours. Because if you go on an app and talk to somebody and you're really not focused, you're just wasting your own time too. And so what are you doing with your life? It's like, these are red flags. So it needs to initiate. One of you initiates, and then the conversation goes. So as soon as it's ignited, okay, now the fire has started. So who is the fire allowed to die out? Maybe we should think of it like, okay, there's a spark, and now we have a flame, and now we have to keep this fire stoked. So how are we doing it? And text conversation, then I believe I'll just tell you how I would say. I wanted him to ask for my phone number, which I've told you I think should be not your real phone number. So set it up in an app where he doesn't actually have your actual number. And I don't think he should know your last name, because I've had guys turn weird and then they can find you and then they're adding you on social media and you have to block them. It becomes a nightmare. So protect yourself through this process. So have a phone number you can give that he can text you and call you, but it's not your actual real phone number. So now he has your phone number. So he should be asking for your number and following up with a phone call. And that should also not be taking forever. So if he struggles in any of these areas, because this is really pretty simple, you guys, we have allowed ourselves to eliminate our standards. Our standards have gotten lower and lower because we're trying to accommodate these low energy, low effort guys. So it's like, well, maybe I'll text him for 2 weeks. Maybe I'll just meet him maybe I'll just meet him for a drink and I won't even talk to him on the phone first. And then we're allowing ourselves to spend all this time on a guy who could have the breath of a dying goat. You know, like you haven't smelled it. You don't even know if the guy has body odor, and you're giving all this time and energy and texting and you're not even talking on the phone. So I'm going to bring this guy up probably like 100 more times, but I've told you my screening process, the guy, great text conversation, first phone call, he started vacuuming his carpet within 5 seconds of me saying hello. And I was just like so stunned. I keep telling people, I just wish I would have immediately plugged in my vacuum and also started vacuuming and stopped talking as well. But it's like, I didn't go on a date with him, but I could have set up a date if I just had kept texting. But when he was forced to be on the phone, he decided, hey, I'm talking to a guy a girl I might want to go on a date with. I think I'm going to vacuum right now. It's hilarious. Like, what is going on with that kind of guy? I have no idea. The weirdo in me like really wants to talk to that guy and examine. Because I was like, are you vacuuming right now? Yeah. I'm like, okay. I mean, it was just so weird. I think I just got off the phone, but today's version of me would have totally vacuumed for like as long. I would have vacuumed and not talked for as long as it took him to hang up. But anyway, that's what I'm saying. So let's go from good profile to striking up conversation. Conversation leads quickly to a phone call. And then how does the phone call go? So in the last podcast I did, we talked about things that can be a turnoff to people, things that you might be saying or doing that could be reasons you're not getting a second date. And so go back and review that podcast. And I know some of it is not extremely, great to hear. However, a lot of things can be very easily tweaked, from bad table manners to bad breath or, clothes that aren't clean. Like, we need to show up our best selves. So if you don't even have the energy to take a shower or clean your clothes, you're not ready to date. And so these are the things but I want you to think about, okay, so we're having this conversation, we're talking on the phone, and we're scheduling a time to meet in person. You need to be looking at this person face to face as fast as possible. I find no problem in if you met a guy online and you started texting and then within a few minutes he's like, hey, can I give you a call? Great. And you talk on the phone and then you were to go on a date the next day, what is wrong with that? Because if you were to meet him in person and he was like, hey, we really had a great time talking to you. Love to take you dinner tomorrow night. No big deal. It's like, we're trying to get to the point where we're seeing each other and talking in person. Okay. We're not trying to have relationships via text. We're not trying to have virtual relationships. We're trying to have relationships with someone we would actually marry and have children. Okay. So, or you might adopt their children. They're adopting your children. Like, this is not a pen pal. We're not going to, exchange recipes. This is somebody that you're trying to figure out, is this my life partner? This is the person that, if you're looking for a husband, then this is how you want to be able to quickly, the process from first text to first date should not be a struggle. There shouldn't be delays. There shouldn't be long pauses, or a week goes by and he doesn't now he's like, hey, how was your weekend? How are letter R, letter U? And then because you're trying to constantly reignite that. So if first text to first date is a long wear out struggle, then that means you need to filter like a freak. That is not your guy. It's not a guy who knows what he wants, knows where he's going, sees a girl that's like, wow, she's great. I have respect for myself so that I am going to show up in a way that says, I'm going to get her number. I'm going to have a conversation. I want to get to know her a little bit. I want to see if there's a spark and chemistry over the phone. Let's get to know each other just a little bit just to see do we want to go on a date? And then if the conversation is good enough for the date, bam, go on the date. It doesn't mean that the date is going to be great because the phone conversation is great. Because sometimes you show up on the date and you see things like their pictures aren't up to date. They do have breath of a dying goat. One of my girls, the guy said the word like every other word. And I was like, so he turned into a Valley girl. She was like, yeah, wasn't a Valley girl on the phone, but Valley girl in person. Like, I was like, and she was like, I couldn't focus on anything but like. And so that can be a deal breaker. I will tell you, one other thing, just as a add on to my last podcast, is bad punctuation, bad grammar, misspelled words constantly. People that are super lazy where they won't convey their messages clearly, and you're constantly trying to say, what are you trying to say there? Oh, sorry, I'm talking to type, or yeah, they're in a hurry, and this is what they do all the time. So it's like a freaking riddle every time you're trying to date them or read their text. I don't want that. I mean, when Ian and I would text back and forth, if we misspelled a word, both of us would correct, or we would asterisk and correct the spelling. And I just found that so attractive. And maybe it's a huge nerdy thing, but I just really would be so, it was like such a turn on when he would type out he's such a beautiful writer, and it was so articulate, and his vocabulary was amazing. Just the intelligence factor was such a turn on. So don't underestimate punctuation. It doesn't take people that just put the letter U for you, Y-O-U. It's like, is that Y and that O and U, just so much effort. I mean, all these things convey a brand, right? And some guys may not care at all, but I'm just kind of bringing some of these things to your attention, that when you are making a connection, you're building that initial attraction, and how that flow needs to be. There's so much settling in that process. And that's why we're so disappointed down the road, because we don't have a standard right off the bat. So I think that, unfortunately, my standard got so high because I got so exhausted by having a low standard, if that makes sense. My standard was so low for so long that I exhausted myself. I was casting too wide of a net. And finally, I got so focused on doing Gumball Love that I just was like, I don't have time for that anymore. This is exhausting. I'm tired of looking at these faces on these dating websites with these guys that are just so close to the camera and they look sad, or they've got a duck face. Or one girl was like, sunglasses. Every guy's in sunglasses and just in weird poses. And it's so gross that it's exhausting. So I want you to really look at, how much time do I want to spend? What does my profile say? Does it say enough about me? And also, don't be afraid to put something on your profile that could weed someone out. I mean, I give my girls, my coaching group, a great example of, and this might irritate you too, but I'm sorry in advance. But if you think Lee Harvey Oswald killed JFK, I can't marry you. So I'm already engaged and getting married to someone else. So I feel like it's just girls here, so we're not going to get married. But I can be your friend if you think Lee Harvey Oswald killed Kennedy, and I'm happy to discuss it. I actually don't discuss it anymore as it's exhausting to me, but it's just like a guy that would make fun of me for having a different theory, that it wasn't Lee Harvey Oswald. There are people out there that will say, oh my God, of course it was Lee Harvey. Like, oh, you're one of those conspiracy theorists, and then pat me on the head and act like I'm stupid because I have a theory, and then basically conspiracy theories are people with ideas that are against the official narrative. So if that's a conspiracy, then I'm already irritated at that title. So that's me, right? I want to be able to think, if the mainstream media or this certain group of people are saying this is how it is, or the government is official report, I tend to think maybe there's more to the story. I'm always like, what's the other angle? What's the other point of the story? I wanted to have the freedom to think differently and be able to think outside the box and express that to my partner and not be shut down, not be made fun of, not be condescending. People can be very condescending when they put you as a conspiracy theorist in the bucket where they're going to tap you on the head because they are acting superior, that this is the way it is. And if you think this way, they're not available for the conversation. And so if I had to do this over again, I would put some things out there. Like I think I actually did have this in my profile of conspiracy theorist, and I like to study about aliens and, are they out there? I 100% think they're out there. There's a lot of information. I want the flexibility to be able to discuss this with my partner and, just look at different information that comes out. There are stories, there are documentaries, there's so much information. I find it very interesting. Do I have a aluminum foil hat? No, I'm not doing that. But I can kind of get why some people are. And it's interesting. I want to explore it. I don't want somebody that can't explore that, or at least be available for some conversation. I need to be able to have that. That's a need that I have, which is a whole other podcast of what are your needs. But when you're putting out there in your profile, who are you? What kind of a guy can you not deal with? If you can't deal with a guy that shuts down a conversation because it's something that you believe it. So what do you believe in? And really start to think about your core values. So I also, if you don't believe in God, I can't marry you. I can be your friend, and I have friends with all different beliefs. But when it comes to who I marry and who I raise my children with, I need that person to believe in God, and I need it to be the same God I believe in. I need us to have that in common. And so, because I want to go to church with my future husband, and we believe in the same things. And so today we stood in church together, and I can't tell you how secure it feels to worship God together. This is something I need. And I used to try to think I could maybe not have the same belief there and it would work, but it does not work for me. So I'm just beating up on myself here because I'm not going to beat up on what anyone else thinks or believes, or I'm just using myself. So you can say that works for Melissa, but that isn't what I need. And that's exactly what I want you to say. I want you to say, yeah, Melissa, I don't need to talk about aliens. So I'm not a conspiracy theorist. That isn't my need. But what I need is I need to be able to talk about music with someone, because I can't imagine not being able to do that. I need someone who understands poetry. I need somebody who understands what is it that is so important to you that you cannot imagine being married to somebody that was against that or didn't care about that. I can't imagine being with somebody who doesn't love animals. Couldn't do it. If you don't love animals, and you could, when someone can discard a dog or push them off and ugh, get off of me, and they do that to a dog, it literally just infuriates me. When someone looks at a dog or a cat like there's some kind of rodent, it disgusts me, because I even am compassionate about rodents. I'm the worst. And so I have exactly what I want because I didn't settle until I found it. And if you guys know, I call Ian my unicorn because I did the unicorn search. I found him on Match.com. I put in everything I was looking for. So I'm a Christian. I put in Christian. I wanted a tall guy. I wanted a guy who loved animals. I wanted a guy who was more career, a corporate guy, because I found that guys that, I've spent most of my life in corporate America, and a guy that can't understand business was hard for me to date. And so I wanted somebody that had a business mindset, loved animals, that I don't even remember all the stuff I put in. Like one loves to travel. Like some people don't like to travel. I wanted somebody who has the desire not only to travel, but to go and learn about cultures and go see things and be in a museum and want to read and learn about. There's so much to learn. I needed somebody who likes to read. So Match.com especially, they really have a lot of fields where you can narrow down what happens when I put in everything I'm looking for. And I used to get discouraged because when I would put that search in Omaha, Nebraska, where I live now again, I'm back in my home state. I moved back here during COVID. But when I used to live here years ago, I would put in that search and no results would come up. Guess what? My husband was not here. Okay? He was in New York. So I felt a calling to move so where there were options that fit what I was looking for. So you might have to move because, and if you have to move, you're in the wrong place. You're not synced up. And so that's a whole other decision. And if you work with me one-to-one, I would love to help you kind of break down, like, are you in the right place? Are you in the right job? Are you living the lifestyle that's even going to sync up with, if you're not who you are, so if you're not your real self, you're not even doing the things that make you, then you're not going to be able to be attracted to the right person because you're not even yourself yet. So it's actually, I will say this till I die. It's not about becoming somebody else. It's about becoming you. And you may not be you right now. And that is the journey you have to go on to bring yourself to full bloom. And then it's like when that flower becomes completely, all the petals are visible, that's when your future husband goes, there she is. But when you stay tight like a rosebud, it's hard for people to connect because they can't see what kind of flower is that? What are the petals? I can't see who is that? So when you're in the rosebud, you're hiding. And we get used to hiding because we're afraid to show who we are. Because if we show who we are, then we're afraid people are going to reject what they see. But they are going to reject it because, and you want them to, because that is how it filters out. And trust me, you don't want the guy that's going to find something wrong with you. Even though it sucks to see that. And I've felt it. I've had guys not want to go on second dates with me. And I'm so thankful because when you finally find the one you're supposed to be with, you're like, oh, thank God none of those worked out. Thank God I didn't pursue that guy. Thank God he didn't go on more dates with me because he felt sorry for me. He just let me go. I mean, you'll be so grateful. Be grateful for the guy that ghosts you. He filtered himself out. So the point of this podcast, I'm going to bring it back in, is get specific about what you're looking for and then expect the process is quick. It moves at a pace that is respectful of your time and his, and that from first text to first date, there is not a struggle. There is not a bunch of gaps and a bunch of miscommunications. I realize there are exceptions to every interaction. So give it a little flexibility here or there. But when you're in the moment, you know what I'm talking about. Oh, we were texting and then he fell off the radar. Now he's back. Now he's a flake again. Get rid of him. You need to get really good at eliminating guys that are disrespectful of your time. And it is hard at first. And it's difficult to do without a coach. So I'm really going to encourage you to hire me as your coach if you really want to expedite this process. Level Up for Love is now a 3-month program. This is for women that are ready to find the husband to build their legacy. So you can have a whole life and not just be a wife. Okay? And when I'm getting married July 30th, I'm not just going to be a wife. I'm also still going to be a podcaster, a writer, a coach, and I'm going to continue to expand my business and travel and have my own interests and my own friends and a beautiful life with my husband. And yes, we have so much together. But I always want you to know that I'm only able to enjoy him because I'm holding my own weight and he's holding his own weight. And so it makes our interaction together so light and easy because there's a friendship there. There's such a care for each other and a respect for each other. And so I want you to have that expectation so high that the person that you will marry is going to have no issues texting you back, setting up a date, calling you on the phone, making a dinner reservation, paying for dinner. Easy stuff for the right person. That's simple. So if those things are hard for him, if he can't even get his money out to buy you dinner the first night, second night, third night, bye-bye. See ya next. And I want to get you to a point where that is a quick decision for you, because right now that could be very difficult and hard for you to imagine. And I will tell you that is why it's taking you so long to meet the right guy, because those decisions are hard for you to make right now. You are too generic in your profile. You are afraid to say who you really are. You don't know who you really are. You don't know how to expand on your interests. You are waiting for him to text you. Even 1 or 2 words is enough to give you that sigh of relief, like, oh, he texted me back, but he didn't really answer your questions. He gave you a low energy response, but that's still okay for you, and you're going to keep writing him back. That part of you that I've got to change this, I don't know how to do it. That's when you need a coach. Look, I needed a coach too, and I wish somebody like me was there for me 10 years ago, 15 years ago. If I could have had somebody, literally having me as your coach is going to be like someone literally drawing you a map and putting up road signs and telling you which way to turn and what to tweak and how to bring all of this to light so that we can advance you to the next level so much faster. And that's why I keep calling this level up for love. We're going to level up your mindset, your lifestyle, your love life, your filter. The whole process is going to change. Your confidence is going to come up. You're going to feel so much better. You're going to feel lighter. You're going to feel happier. All my girls in my that I'm coaching one-to-one, and I put them in the group. This group is so much fun, and everyone was like, bring Ian back. And I was like, he came in the beginning, but they were all so quiet. And they were like, well, we just didn't know each other very well in the beginning, but now they're all getting to know each other, and there's new people coming in all the time. So it's just, if you feel called to be in this group, if you like me, if you connect with me, if you feel like you like listening to my podcast, these podcasts are helpful to you, you feel like we would get along, if you feel like we connect on any level, you can book even a free 30-minute call with me, and I'll walk through what it would look like for you. So you can say, all right, Melissa, listen to your podcast. I like your style, but this is my situation. So tell me how you'd help me through it. Go ahead and challenge me. I welcome it. I love it. I literally think of my girls nonstop all day long, every day. And this is how I know this is what I'll do forever, because I can't imagine not doing it. And it's also a huge thing of why Ian talked about how he loves me, because when he heard that I was doing this for women, he was just like, I thought that was just so amazing that she was helping people. And he really gave my girls in my coaching group insight into, and I told him, I go, I want you to tell them, what did you see in me that made you think, oh, this could be somebody I could be interested in? And because I wanted you guys, and I want all my girls to see that being the confident version of yourself, being the girl going for her dreams, being the girl that you are meant to be, is going to be the most attractive to the guy that will marry you. You can't slow down anymore and wait for a low energy text response and hope it becomes more. We're going to take you beyond that level, way beyond that level, because those low level responses are not where the husbands are. Those are where the guys, those are the guys that waste your time, make you feel like crap, put your self-esteem in the gutter, and make you continue to start over again and again and again. Let's be done starting over. Let's just get this handled and move on so you can finally never have a dating profile again, never have to look at another gross picture of another guy, never have to listen to somebody else's story. Let's just wrap this up so you can get past this and move on. Find the love of your life. So we stop the cycle of sugar high romance, discover your worth, and find true love. That is my mission for you, and I would love to hear from you. So you can book a free 30-minute call. Link is in my bio on Instagram. Go to my website, message me. You can email me, melissa@gumballlove.com. All right, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you soon. Love you. Bye.